Okay, lesson 1.7, the last lesson of chapter 1. The objectives are to find perimeters of rectangles, squares, and circumferences of circles, and then find areas of rectangles, squares, and circles. So, first the key concepts, perimeter and area. A square with side length s. So for this, the perimeter would be, usually we just say add up all the sides. We just take 4 times s, that's the same thing. And the area is the side squared, so side times side. Okay, for a rectangle, the perimeter is base plus height plus height. Or we could simplify this, base plus height, and then take that times 2 because there's 2 of each of them. So 2 times base plus height. And the area is just base times height. Then we have a circle, and the circumference, which is like the perimeter of a circle, it just gets a special name. You can either do 2 pi times the radius. Remember, the radius is halfway across the circle. Or you can do pi times diameter, which is just the whole distance across the circle. Remember, 2 times the radius equals the diameter. Then for area, we take pi times the radius squared. Okay, so you can't use diameter for this one. Usually for pi, we just round it to 3.14 when we use pi. Alright, so one postulate today. If 2 figures are congruent, then their areas are equal. Okay? Their side lengths have to be the same, which means their areas are equal. Sorry, 2 postulates for today, my bad. And then the second postulate, 1-10, the area of a region is the sum of the areas of its non-overlapping parts. Okay, so all that means is like, if I have a shape that looks like this, then the area is the sum of this piece and this piece. It can't be like the area of this piece and this piece, because these overlap right here. Okay, now that we got that down, let's jump into some examples. Finding circumference. Okay, circle G has a radius of 6.5 centimeters. Find the circumference of circle G in terms of pi, then find the circumference to the nearest tenth. So, we only know the radius, so we have to use this first one up here where we know the radius. 2 times pi times the radius, and in our case the radius is 6.5. All we did is sub in 6.5 for r. 2 times 6.5 gets us 13 times pi. Okay, this is our answer in terms of pi, because we left pi in the answer. Okay, now if we take 13 times 3.14, we get about 40.82. Okay, I rounded it to the nearest tenth. So then the circumference of circle G is 40.82, or about 41 centimeters. All right, next one. Finding perimeter in the coordinate plane. Okay, so they tell you quadrilateral ABCD has vertices at 0, 0. So let's plot our points here. We got 0, 0. That's A. 9, 12 would be B. So over 9, up 12. There's B. Then we've got 11, 12 for C, and 2, 0 for D. Okay, and we're just going to connect the dots. Lucky for me, I have this nice little straight line tool that I don't actually have to draw a straight line. Okay. there so you can see that. All right, so we are going to find the perimeter of this shape. Well, the easiest two sides to find the distance are going to be side BC and AD because they're on a straight line. These are 2 units wide. Okay, so BC and AD are 2. All right, now we're going to have to find the distance from A to B to figure out the other 2 sides. So, AB, we've got the points 0, 0, and 9, 12. I'm going to write this a little closer. I'm going to use A as the first point. So 0 minus 9 squared plus 0 minus 12 squared equals negative 9 squared plus negative 12 squared, which is 81 plus 144. If we add those together, we get 225. And if we type that in a calculator, or if you know it off the top of your head, the square root of 225 is 15. Okay, so side AB is 15. These are going to show you how to find side BC and DA, which we already did up here. We just counted, but this is the official way to find it. So we know that from B to C, the y coordinate is the same. They're both 12. So we're just going to say from 11 to 9, 11 minus 9 is 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2. Okay, that's what we found up there. This was using the ruler postulate. Okay, we learned that in the last lesson. All right, let's check CD. C is 11, 12. I'm going to write this down. And D is 2, 0. So if we make D 0.1, 2 minus 11, 0 minus 12, we've got negative 9, negative 12, this is negative 9 squared is 81, negative 12 squared is 144, which is the same as we had up there. The square root of 225 is 15, which is good because it's a parallelogram, so those 2 sides should be the same. Okay, and then from D to A, well, the y coordinate's the same again, so we're going to have 2 minus 0, which is 2, and that means that these 2 match also, which is good because, again, it's a parallelogram. So we should have 15 plus 15 plus 2 plus 2. Well, let's back up a second, sorry. For perimeter, we're going to add AB plus BC plus CD plus DA. Okay, and we know AB is 15, BC is 2, CD is 15, DA is 2. And if we add them all together, we get 34. So the perimeter of the quadrilateral is 34 units. Okay, that was a lot of work. All right, finding the area of a circle. So circle B, find the area of circle B in terms of pi. In circle B, the radius is 1.5 yards. And we know that areas pi are squared. So this is pi times 1.5 squared. All we did was substitute 1.5 for r. If we do 1.5 squared, we get 2.25 times pi. So the area, if we multiply, okay, this is in terms of pi right here. If we multiply 2.25 times 3.14, we get about 7.065 yards squared. Okay, so this one up here is in terms of pi. This is our more exact answer. All right, last example. This one has to do with that postulate 1-10, where basically it just says the area of a region is the area of the non-overlapping parts. So if you split up a shape and find the area, you can't have parts that overlap. Okay, so draw a horizontal line to separate the figure into 3 overlapping figures. Okay, if I draw a horizontal line from here over. Okay, now I've got 3 figures. 1 rectangle right here. And 2 squares. And we can calculate the area of each of those. We know the area of a rectangle is base times height, and we know that the area of a square is side squared. So in this rectangle, the base would be 15. Okay, then we need the height. Well, we know this whole side is 10, but this piece that we cut off is 5. So that means this side over here is 5. And then these squares we know are 5 feet by 5 feet, so it's going to be 5 squared. If we simplify, 15 times 5 is going to get us 75. 5 squared is 25. Now we've got 75 plus 25 plus 25 because we have 2 squares. And if we add these together, 75 plus 25 plus 25 should get us 125. So the area of the figure is 125 feet squared. Remember, the label's always label squared. Okay, now you're going to do the check for understanding problems, so let's take a look at those. Number 1, find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 18 meters in terms of pi. So don't multiply it all out, leave it in terms of pi. Remember, the formula is back on the first page of these notes. Find the circumference of a circle with a diameter, okay, this one was radius, this one's diameter, of 18 meters to the nearest tenth. So now you're actually going to have to multiply times pi. Alright, then number 2, you're going to graph the quadrilateral and find the perimeter. You will have to draw your own coordinate plane here. I just split mine into 4, like evenly, so I found the middle. Oops, that wasn't quite right. Let's try that again. Found the middle, and I made this my axis, and it worked out pretty well. Then you can graph your points and find your distances. Number 3, you are designing a rectangular banner for the front of a museum. The banner will be 4 feet wide and 7 yards high. How much material do you need in square yards? So I recommend, notice this is feet, this is yards. Change them both to feet. Calculate how many square feet you need, and then convert that to yards, okay? It'll be much easier. Then, number 4, copy the figure in example 4, separate it in a different way. So before we just drew one horizontal line through it. See if you can find a different way to separate this picture. And then calculate the area again, just using the different shapes. Okay. Remember, if you have questions, make sure you're asking, and make sure to show me your answers on the check for understanding when you are done.